Hi everyone, welcome back. So today I want to talk about how I take photos of my plants for Instagram. So there is also going to be a part 2 of this video on how I edit my photos, and that's coming soon. Probably like tomorrow. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, first, disclaimer. You don't need all of this stuff to take good photos of your plants. It does not need to be this complicated. I have a lot of equipment, a lot of gear. I'm going to show you all of them. But do you need like any of this stuff? Not really. The only thing you really need for a good photo is good lighting. And honestly, natural lighting is best. Natural lighting is king. So if you have a window, bring your plants near that window and your photos are probably going to look amazing. So that's really it. But with that being said, I don't have a lot of good natural lighting here. We do have some south windows in a different room, but they're not facing a blank wall. And the ways I like my photos to look, I really like the very minimalistic blank wall look. So I can't really take photos in there. But you know, if you're not trying to do all of this, just find a good window. But if you are trying to do all of this, I'm going to show you my gear right now. Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm sorry, I didn't clean my room when I film. I kind of just have to push everything to the side to set up all my lights and stuff. So it's going to look a little messy. I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Let's get into it. Okay, talking about gear. Most of my photos are taken either on my phone, which I love, or with this camera. So if you actually scroll down on my Instagram, the majority of my photos were taken on a Nikon D3400 with a nifty 50, a 50mm lens. I think it was I want to say it was a 2.8, and I would always go down to the lowest aperture possible. I like those like blurry background looks, but I have upgraded to this camera because my old camera was great at taking photos, not great at taking videos. So this is a Canon M50, and I've been using the kit lens for both my videos and my photos, and it's been working out beautifully. The lowest the aperture for this camera is a 3.5, so when I do upgrade the lens, I'm probably going to buy a lens with an aperture that goes, you know, lower than that. But for now, I use the kit lens and I like it a lot. Okay, so let's now talk about the lights that you can see behind me. They're currently off, so that you can see them. I'll turn one of them on for you, but they are softbox lights. I got both of them as a kit on Black Friday. They come with that nifty little carrier bag down there, so they're super compact when broken down. Honestly, I leave mine up most of the time because I've been filming a lot of videos lately. But if you take this off, you can see it's just a single light bulb that comes with the kit, and it is a cool white light bulb, which I like, because I can always, you know, make the video warmer, but it's not yellow on my skin tone, which I like. So this is what they look like off. I'm going to turn one of them on. There you go. It's super bright, but it makes a world of difference when you're trying to film videos, and it's not sunny outside. They're obviously like not the best quality because they weren't that expensive. They were actually pretty inexpensive. I think they were around $60 to $70. I'll put the link to the exact one I buy down below, but they weren't that expensive at all. This one is kind of unstable. I don't know why, but that one has been perfectly great. So yeah, so that has been, you know, a game changer in my ability to take photos when it's not bright and sunny outside. Now we have flipped around to the background. This is what you usually see when you're watching my videos. And I shoot the majority of my videos and my photos now on this blank white wall. If you scroll down my Instagram, I used to have a gray background that I loved. And that was done with literally a bed sheet. So you would just take a bed sheet, make sure it's, you know, not folded, so it's one single layer, and I literally thumbtacked it to the wall, and then I would lay it like across the table like this, and that would create kind of like a seamless background, and kind of achieve an effect similar to backdrop paper. If you want to go the route of backdrop paper, that's definitely cool too. You can buy those from BH, or you can buy it off of Amazon. It comes in a lot of different colors, but I kind of just like the white look. If I ever do buy backdrop paper, I think I would go with a black one to do kind of those very dramatic photos. But for now, I really like the white. I stopped doing the gray because because then I was still shooting with natural lighting, and when the lighting shifted, it shifted the color of the gray, and it was kind of hard to match the gray background from photo to photo. So I just went with white because white is always easy to color balance. But yeah, okay, now let's get into some techniques. Also, I should mention that this is the table that I'm currently shooting on. I made this table. This piece of wood came like this from Home Depot, and then I sanded it and painted it. And then the legs are from Amazon. They come in a pack of 4, but I decided to like 3. So I only put 3 on. I used to shoot on this table right here. Also, lol at the temperature in this room, but I used to shoot on this table. It's from IKEA. It literally costs $15. It's great. I really like it. Especially if you're gonna do like a backdrop situation, you should probably pick like a rectangular table instead of a round table, because then the fabric will lay nicer. But because I stopped doing the fabric, I like the round table because it creates kind of like an interesting effect when you take photos from on a white wall and a white table. It kind of creates a little bit of something different. Okay, this is a phone clip to show you my camera settings. So right now my camera is on aperture priority, which is my favorite camera setting, and then I just put the aperture down to the lowest number, which on this camera is a 3.5. And the lower the aperture means the blurrier the background, and I love blurry backgrounds. I currently have the exposure compensation up to a +1, just because this room is still kind of dark even with all of the lights. It, you know, doesn't make that big of a difference. This is the exposure compensation turned off. It still looks pretty good, but I do like it on a little bit. And then my ISO is just on auto, and so is the shutter speed. I think this is the quickest way to shoot, because this is really just like photos of my plants, and so I want, you know, to take a lot in a short period of time. So I feel like aperture priority with everything else set on auto is the quickest way to shoot and achieve the look I want. If I'm shooting something a little bit more complicated or like a little bit more complex, I'll put my camera on manual and then, you know, adjust all the settings then. But for right now, this is a good setting for me. Okay, so the example photo today that I'm going to take is of all of my different types of peperomia obtusifolia, and I'm going to show you how I would stage this. So first of all, looking at this, I'm going to have to swap out this pot for a different pot, because everything else is currently like very monochromatic, white, gray, black, and so this natural look doesn't fit the vibe of this photo. Okay, so I swapped it out for a marble planter from a different plant, and I think that looks a whole lot better already. So I usually like to start with a photo. First of all, kind of just like this, all grouped together like this. I usually would snap one portrait as well, and then start adjusting from there. Okay, so from the photos I just took as a first pass photo, some things I immediately want to adjust. First of all, I have to move that plant up there because it got in some of the portrait shots, and also this outlet. While I think it'll be fine in a video, it doesn't look so great for Instagram, so we're gonna have to reposition the table so that the outlet isn't in the photos. Okay, so I took that plant off and then I moved everything slightly to the right, and if I framed it just right, then you can't see the outlet, you can't see the mirror, and so that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now how I want to adjust the plants. So obviously, do you see this leaf isn't being showcased? So I would move this so that you can see the variegation, and then I would probably take one like this just to take a photo. And something other you could do is now you start to play with the fact that your aperture is down really low. You can push this back, pull this forward, and you see all the blurry background, and now this leaf is in focus and this leaf is taking center attention. I think that's a really cool close-up shot. Okay, now you could pull, you know, like a couple in front, like this. That would be a cute photo as well. And then what I like to do usually is also to take one that's kind of to the edge of the table. I just personally like that look. So I'm gonna move all of this to the edge of the table and take a photo kind of like this. I like a lot of white space. And then do you see how this, I was telling you about how the circular table kind of creates an interesting shape in the photo. I really like that personally. So yeah, I always do one of these shots as well. And then I'll usually also do kind of like a foliage shot is what I call them, where like you kind of zoom in on so that the whole frame is just mostly leaves. This one I probably do kind of like, So this is kind of like a little bit more difficult because these are kind of staggering height. So I feel like you'd want to go more so up from the top like this. I'd probably take a photo like this, but you see how there's carpet on this side. So now you want to move everything more here. There you go. This is also a potential shot. Okay, and then once I do this group of photos, I would probably, for myself, do a couple detailed shots. So one plant at a time. Okay, so how I like to, you know, frame my photos is, you know, a very traditional way, which is a rule of thirds. So if you imagine grid lines in this frame and they're divided into thirds, you want your focal point to be hitting one of the third lines, like so. Okay, I'm back because I thought of two more things. So let's say you're taking just an individual shot of this plant and you were doing the rule of thirds, you're framing it, right? Do you see how these leaves are obviously facing a certain direction? So you would want to position it like this. So the way it's facing is towards all of the empty blank space, the negative space, versus like this, and then framing the plant like this. Because this way it kind of looks like it's facing, you know, the edge of this screen versus this way. It feels much more open. And then also when you're framing, and do you see how there's a pot, you want the edge of this to be perpendicular with the edge of your frame. So like that, versus like this, because like this, most of the time you're going to be able to see probably like the dirt, and unless you were going for a top view of a leaf, in which, you know, obviously the only way to get that is, you know, to take from an angle like this. If you're going for one of these shots, you want to make sure that you are shooting perpendicular or parallel with the planter and perpendicular to the ground. Okay, so that's basically how I take my photos for my Instagram. My next video is going to be how I'm going to edit these photos. But I wanted to quickly end this video by saying that there's like obviously no right way to take photos. And there are different styles of photos even within like plant photographies. And I'm going to quickly shout out some accounts that I think have the prettiest photos ever, and a lot of these accounts don't take photos like the way I like to take my photos, but they're still my favorite and so freaking gorgeous. So if you really like very curated photos of like lifestyle shots where there's a bunch of different plants all together and they're staged beautifully, two accounts that I love are Leaf and Lens, right here, and then also The Bored Wife. Oh, they have like the freaking prettiest photos, and all the planters are kind of like rustic looking, and it's freaking gorgeous. And then two more accounts that I really love for their photography, and they have, you know, kind of more so similar styles to what I like to shoot. First would be The Littlest Jungle. She shoots a lot of her photos on a black background, which looks so dramatic and so freaking pretty. It's like one of my favorite accounts to stare at. And then another account that I really, really love is Forever Planty, and I'm pretty sure she shoots her photos on a phone, and the plants are just gorgeous and beautiful, and her photos are really simple, usually one plant at a time, and they're so pretty. So I love all these accounts. There's so many more accounts that I really love. If I think of any more after this, I'm gonna link everybody in the description box below. But okay, stay tuned for part 2 on how I take all these photos from a camera to be edited and then onto Instagram. Okay, see you soon.